All right. Now, rather than trying to do some sort of collision detection, which would be kind of a nightmare to be honest, we're actually going to do the math to figure out if we're going to hit something or not. So the basic way we're going to do this is we're going to check every 4 pixels and see if there's an object there. And if they're not, we're going to check the next 4 pixels over, and then the next 4 pixels, in whatever direction we're facing. If we ever hit a wall, we stop. If we ever hit a monster, we destroy it, or turn it into a dead sprite, or whatever you want to do. So that's the basic idea of how to do this. And basically, I'm repeating it 100 times. This is a loop, so it does this whole section 100 times, which means that I'm going to go a total of 400 pixels in whatever direction I'm facing. So for now, I'm going to start with all of this stuff. I'm using the mouse, so I'm going to use the left mouse button to do this. You could do the space bar or some other key to shoot if you wanted. Now, I'm not actually clicking on anything in particular, so I'm going to use the global mouse, left press, and I'm going to start with that code there. Now, this is incomplete, and I'm going to have to fix this up quite a bit. And to be perfectly honest, I don't really like the way the guy did this in a couple places, so I'm going to fix that too. I should probably make it that I can't fire in the middle of the reload animation. That would be kind of weird and silly, because then you could fire as fast as you can click. So what I'm going to do is, in this create code, I'm going to create another variable, and shoot. And I'm going to set that to true. By the way, true is exactly the same value as 1. False is exactly the same as 0. I just like true and false because it makes more sense in my brain. So I'm creating this variable can shoot in the create event. So I'm allowed to shoot when I first start the game. Before I get to all this stuff, I should check to see if I'm allowed to shoot. If can shoot is true, I'm allowed to do all this stuff. And also, I should set can shoot to false, and I'm going to start the animation running. I'm just going to set my image speed to 1. If you want to speed up or slow down his reload animation, you would change that number there. While I'm thinking about it, before I get to this nonsense here, I should probably make sure that I'm allowed to fire more than once. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in an animation end event where if my animation ends, I set can shoot back to true and set the image speed to 0. So I'm going to add an event, other animation end. So if we reach the end of this guy's animation, can shoot goes back to true. Image speed goes back to 0. And also, image index is also going to be 0. So I'm going to set it to be the first frame again. Computer started 0, so it's frame 0 I want it to be at. So you're allowed to shoot again. It stops animating. Go back to the first frame. So I kind of want to check this code first before I start messing with whether or not things blow up, which is fun, but I should probably make sure that works first. So I'm actually going to comment all this out for now. If you do /* and then do a */ at the other end, this all becomes a comment. That way I don't have to erase this and retype it. But it won't run this code, so I can check and see if can shoot is working. The other way, by the way, is using 2 slashes. That's a nice, convenient way to comment out a line of code as well. I tend to comment things out rather than delete them until I'm darn sure I want to get rid of that line of code. Blam! That is really fast. Maybe I should slow that down. Maybe I'll do like 0.5 or something for the image speed. As much fun as the spastic reloader is. That's a little better. All right, I'm satisfied with that. All right, all of this stuff here. What this is doing. So we basically start at the player's x and y position. That's what this xx and yy is. Start checking for collisions with enemies there, because we want to start wherever we're at and then go in the direction the camera is facing. Dx is basically one step in the camera's direction. It's if I go one pixel in the direction of the camera, this is the x amount that you go over, and the dy is the y amount you go over. For those of you that love you some math, this is cosine is the adjacent, sine is the opposite, except it's negative because the y-axis is flipped. We're going to go 100 in that direction, and basically we're going to go add one step in that direction. If there is a wall, we're done. And so what I'm going to do here is change this a little bit. Instance position is going to return. Let's go check that out. Instance position. Instance position, what do you do? Let's see. Instance place, instance position. Returns the ID of the instance at that position. So it can be an object or a keyword all, and if it doesn't exist, the special object no one has returned. Righto. ID numbers are all in the 100,000 range, so if II is greater than 0, what I'm going to do then is exit. So that means I'm going to stop running this loop. Then I'm going to check to see if at that position, is there a Pac-Man? At XX, YY, Pac-Man. If II is greater than 0, that means, hey, I hit a Pac-Man. And then this code should be familiar to you. Then with that particular object, destroy it. So this is the ID number of this Pac-Man I just hit. And we say, hey, die. And then I'm going to break. You could do an instance change here and change it into, like, if you had a dead object version, you could change it into that instead. That would be a convenient way to leave bodies everywhere. And if it reaches the end of this, then we just do the loop again, move another 4 pixels in the direction we're going. Did you hit a wall? Did you hit a Pac-Man? So on. I'm going to test this to make sure that I wasn't lying to all of you. Not that I'd ever do that. Die! Uh-oh. There we go. So there we go. Now, something to keep in mind, the collision it's considering is, from this position, do I hit this square here? It may be that your sprite that you're seeing is much wider than this actual square here. So it may look like you shot him, but it didn't consider that a collision, so it didn't destroy him. So you got to watch out for that. If you're having trouble getting the sprite you see to really match up with the sprite that's actually in the room, you might try centering it. So for example, if I try centering this, that'll make it so that the x and y position is drawn from that square. That might make it a little easier. You might have to change the size of this square that's in the room, because that's what you're actually shooting at. Or make your sprite you see smaller, for example. Run, run! Blam! Outstanding. Let's see how this works with multiple guys. I'm sure this couldn't go wrong. Yeah. Ah. Well, good. My reloading seems to work. Yeah. All right. Now, another thing I could do is I could have a collision with this star, and, for example, it gives me points, gives me health, whatever it's going to be. So that gets you the basics of having objects you can interact with. I think next time I'll go over drawing health bars and having health interactions, but I think that's the beginnings of what you need for the 3D game.